be interesting to really pay attention to where these athletes are falling. You know, 4:33, 1500. It's just tough to really compare between different athletes because a 1500 and a mile time can look a little bit different for everybody. But it does draw a lot of interesting thoughts. 4:33 would translate to around the low 450 range, but often running here in this invitational section, you gotta expect it's gonna take something quick and it's gonna take someone to break open this pack. Right away starting to spread out. We mentioned watch Sophie Farley up front, someone who has really brought a lot of confidence for this Longwood squad. 17:47 for 10th in the 5K at the Big South Cross Country Championships. She can really put on a show, and you see the flames up front. Don't forget about Emily Atha, who is also sitting really hip by hip with Farley. They'll come through the first 300 right around 55 seconds, and it'll have to be until we get to the other side of the track before we can really take anything numbers-wise from it. Almost exactly where they want to be. Right around 1:15, right around 5-minute pace.
I think you hit the nail right on the head at the start of this race. You're not going to see much separation. What you see now is probably what you're going to see coming to the line.
Well, it's also just a war of attrition because lap after lap, you're going to see a few more athletes start tailing off. And the question is, does someone make the move earlier rather than later? You look at a championship setting in the postseason, so many athletes are trying to bust those fields open in a hurry, whereas in a race like this, might take a little more time, and it might be more about putting something on the clock. Got to be looking at all those PRs, and there's so many different numbers to pay attention to. Liberty's still in a really good spot up front. They've got a trio surrounding Farley, and then on the inside, Rainey Mayo, someone else to keep your eye on. A reminder, you know, you have all these Liberty Flames up front, but someone like Allison Dell for Lynchburg, who's sitting in the 5 spot right now, you got to look at those D3 times as well if you're trying to qualify for a national meet. It's important to keep your eye all around. A little bit of separation now, and Allison Dell, the gray singlet, starting to move up into 3rd. A little bit of strategy out on the far side. And now you wonder, who's going to make this move with just a few curves left? Allison Dell making another move as Farley has kind of sat on the inside rail, really hasn't moved, and now a little bit of separation up front. It will be tight down the stretch. Now Farley making the move around the outside. Atha, Farley, and Allison Dell, the senior from the Hornets, all going for it, and Sophie Farley starting to put a few steps on the field. Just the second outdoor meet, and the question is now, does she have enough firepower with 300 left?
She went hard. It's going to be interesting to see if she can maintain the pace.
Really feels like she is in a different race right now. Those arms starting to do a little bit of extra work around the back straightaway. And if you are somebody in that chase pack, you've got to recognize she could drop, or that pace could decelerate at any time. It's all about going forward, but I don't think Farley's slowing down.
My goodness.
4:33.43 in her first meet on the outdoor oval. Looking like she will be very close to that time, trying to get a tick under. Rest of the field heading towards home. Tight for everybody. Rachel Hill from Liberty. Allison Dell in the mix. Don't forget about Davis and Elkins, who is stuck close. Savannah Hartman And Sophie Farley rolls through in 4:35, a few ticks just over that PR. Rachel Hill 4:40, and Allison Dell putting up the 7th fastest time in Division III, 4:41. I mean, Kevin, that's exactly what we talked about. The blueprint at the beginning of this race looks so much different than the final results when you see some of those kicks at the right time. But, I mean, credit to Sophie Farley, making her move and sticking with it. I think that goes back to the coaching as well.
Yeah, you mentioned it. And she, for a freshman, that's really impressive to see the distance that she was able to kind of gain there and really maintain throughout that final 400.